Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the little Brilliant Classics box that's still around. It's around. Pay attention, of the complete Saint-Saëns symphonies and piano and violin concertos. And in mostly really good performances and some extraordinary performances. This is really a deal and a steal at the price. It's fantastic. So what do you get? Oh, it's pretty straightforward. As you know, Saint-Saëns wrote 5 symphonies, and only the third symphony, the organ symphony, which is actually the 5th of them all, the last, is at all known. They're good works. There are some beautiful works. Some really first-rate works that are very, very exciting. The second symphony particularly is a wonderful work. The Herb's Roma is kind of interesting. No one knows why it's called that. Saint-Saëns never worked hard to promote his symphonies. He was a little bit intimidated, I think, by being in the shadow of Beethoven and also by the French musical culture of the time, which was, for orchestral music was, difficult, shall we just say. Remember the riot that attended the premiere of the Franck Symphony in D minor. So he was cautious and wasn't terribly self-promoting when it came to those works. If you were a French composer in the 19th century, you weren't a symphonist. You wanted operas, just operas. You wanted to produce lots of operas. That's what music was. So these 5 symphonies were terribly neglected. And in here, we have the Jean Martinon cycle, licensed from EMI, which is the best one, basically, or one or two best ones. It's absolutely first class. You get a really good organ symphony. It's his second recording of it, by the way, or I think it was his second because he did one for Erato as well. I forget which one came first, but it's probably the better of the two, I think. And you have it's with the Orchestre Nationale de l'ORTF. It's a little bit dated sonically, but the performances are just full of life and energy and color, and it's just first rate. Now, the violin concertos. There are 3 of them, as you know, and there's also a bunch of other things for violin and orchestra. La Muse et le Poète, the Valse Caprice, 2 romances for violin and orchestra, the Havanaise, the Morceau de Concert, the Introduction and Rondo Capriccioso, the Caprice Andalou, and the Prelude to The Flood, the Oratorio, the Deluge. And here we have Ulf Hoelscher, violin, and the New Philharmonia Orchestra under Pierre Dervaux. Now, Hoelscher deserves a lot of credit. First of all, for doing these pieces in such fine performances. Dervaux, of course, is a terrific conductor of this music. Hoelscher was one of those violinists who did a lot of unusual repertoire. He was like EMI's house conductor for the weird stuff. You may recall, before Yitzhak Perlman got his talons on it, Hoelscher did the Korngold Violin Concerto, in what I think was probably a better performance, at least a better recorded performance. And so there were things that he did. He was sort of a mainstay in that unusual repertoire department. And one of the things he did was the complete Saint-Saëns violin concerti at a time, again, when nobody was going anywhere near that music, aside from occasionally the third violin concerto. I say piano concerto, violin concertos. And they are lovely works. The third violin concerto is a masterpiece that is terribly underrated. It really is. But they're all good. They're really good. And the same is true, of course, of the piano concertos, there are 5, and they're phenomenal. And you get all 5 of them, along with Africa, his tone poem thing for piano and orchestra, which is just so much fun. But these are with Gabriel Tacchino and the Orchestra of Radio Luxembourg under Louis de Froment. These were Vox recordings. And of the cycles in this box, these are probably the least interesting of all of them. They're not bad. They're really not bad. But the Luxembourg Orchestra was never anything special. And the sonics are just okay. There have been many Saint-Saëns piano concerto cycles lately, and they've been very, very good. Some really, really good ones. And even when this came out, you had Aldo Ciccolini, and you had in mono, who was it, Jean-Marie Daré, and you had then Collard's cycle with Andre Previn. There were better ones buzzing around. And so, as far as like overall quality goes, the piano concertos here are sort of a make weight. They're good to have. I mean, they don't do the music any serious injustice, but you can find better performances easily. Whereas such is not the case with the violin concertos and the symphonies. So, on the whole, I think this is what, 6 CDs. It's a deal. It's really a deal. And if you don't have these performances, they are milestones in the Saint-Saëns discography, especially the symphonies and violin concertos. And you're just going to love the music. It's such good music. Give it a chance and get to know it. And this is a very good way to do it. It really is. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.